Mm-hmm.
Whereas, like, the way I am now, I mean, not like I want to reinforce it or make it more so, but I am somebody who's uh, utilizing alcohol to diminish symptoms of schizophrenia instead of Klonopin or some kind of over-the-counter med. It's a little bit better to me, as long as I don't drink and drive or abuse anybody. Uh, it's a little bit better, even though it's killing my liver. I'm sure the over-the-counter or the prescription medication that they would put me on would also damage my liver. Similarly, so I've got it all rationalized. This is why it's okay for me to drink, blah blah blah. But I didn't even want to drink when I was 20. And I have that identity right there in my memory. I know what it was like to
Can I
be.
ask you a question?
Uh-huh.
What are your gifts? What are you really good at?
Um, Analytical thinking, consideration for people, compassion, and analytical. Just having a mind that jives with computers in general, I guess.
You do. Actually, that makes good sense because you really do.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, in your ideal world, how would you express those gifts?
Well, like these are the gifts that I do express, and I do a lot of computer work for free. This is the way I make money too, but when I have to do enough of it, right, I gotta make some money doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Compassion and consideration for people, something I try to spread, try to show considerate, just basic human, just, afford everybody the respect that you automatically deserve by being alive, being alive and being
Do you think that's a quality of yours, though?
I think yeah, I do. I think it's something that I can share and I see it in other people. It's not exclusive to me. Uh, I think it's something that some people just can't even see. They're completely blind to, um, the good, um, how much easier life can be if you have consideration for other people. If you just
Exactly.
basically,
Consideration for other people and you're actively living.
But you think that's a gift of yours?
Done.
along, like the three things that I can say, like right off the hip, is, I've got an analytical mind.
Yep, I
Uh,
know that.
I've got consideration for other human beings, and I've got consideration for life altogether. And I've got compassion.
Okay.
Okay. So, consideration, could I call that caring?
Yes, yes, yeah, consideration and compassion, that's caring.
Yeah. Okay. So, can I ask a question about that?
Hmm.
If you are caring for yourself, as an example, is there any way of influencing people that's more powerful than that?
You gotta elucidate. People who are good at caring about themselves are probably better at it than me in most cases.
Yeah, but they weren't always. That's a learned skill, right? Self care is a learned skill.
Okay, yeah, because your parents care for you until you learn how to do it for yourself.
There you go.
Okay.
Um,
So we can learn to look after ourselves well. That's the old story of I am learning loving me. I think we talked about that many moons ago.
yeah, 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 I get
So when
that.
I am loving me, I am caring for me.
Yeah, that's a shortcoming because I need results. I need to see other people benefiting from my existence to feel motivated to take
So,
care of
are
myself.
you undergoing treatment for schizophrenia?
No, sir.
No. Okay.
Not at the moment. Yeah,
Do
not
you know any other people that have this affliction?
plenty. Yes, I have. I mean, in my past.
Yeah. Okay. So if they see you learning to look after yourself, will it help them? Will it give them hope? Will it give them an example that they can follow?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Um,
So then, if this is the case, is this a good use of your gifts, your time, your energy?
in the end, it's probably all in the recovery. And the recovery will be, I think the whole process will end up being a good use of my, um,
Yeah. So,
yeah,
for most of us, we are motivated either for what we want or what we don't want. And for most of us, there's some of each. And what we don't want is the most powerful motivation, the pain and pleasure. So the question is, how much pain does it take to motivate us? And if we want to wait for a high level of pain to get motivated, then we've got to dig ourselves out of a really big hole.
yeah.
So
Sometimes
if
it's
we
like,
start when the pain is small, knowing where it's going to go, then we are not only in a much better place, but so are those around us. So what is your pain threshold that's going to make you change? Or are you willing to accept and embrace that change at a lower pain threshold?
I might be rare. It might be rare that people are like me, but the only way for things to get better for me is for them to get worse and to actually get me out of my comfort zone against my will
Yeah. I
and
understand that.
into a deeper pain. It's got to get worse before. I mean, I don't want to make it a rule for myself.
No, you're not.
I'd much
You're being
rather
real with
skip
yourself,
out
is
on
what
the
I'm
hard
hearing.
part. It could be so much harder, and I'd much rather skip out on that. I'd much rather curtail the catastrophe, but chances are I'm not changing until something changes me. I'm gonna wait for an external influence. Um,
And that's that you're choosing to wait for an external influence. Is that what you're saying?
So you're choosing more pain then.
no, it's not conscious. I'm stuck. I'm like I don't feel
Mhm.
like I can get around this. It feels like an obstacle that's
So your
insurmountable.
experience of change for the better has always been motivated by a high level of pain.
Yes, yeah, by a catastrophe. Yeah.
So from what you've done already, it's always been that way.
So far, yeah, thus far.
Okay. So this is what I'm wondering. Can you take that experience and learn from that and say, you know what? I don't really need all that pain because I'm not only, wasting time and life and energy and all that stuff, but I don't like it. So am I willing to learn from that and accept a lower degree of pain to get me turned around? Do I have to do it that old way? Or can I give myself permission to learn from that and do it in a new way? just because everybody in my family always did that, does that mean that I have to?
You see, what I need is proof that that can happen.
Of course, but only you can provide that proof. Nobody can do that for you.
Oh, yeah, for me in particular.
Yeah.
But to see somebody else do that, it would be that
Okay, so I'll give you an example then.
tip the scales.
Can you tie your shoes?
Yes.
Okay, so that is a one time when you had no pain or very little pain, and you learn to better yourself. So you can do that. You can read and write.
Mm-hmm.
So the chances are there was no or little pain before you learned to do those things.
No
They're
pain in
pretty
learning that.
substantial changes.
Yeah, they
So
wouldn't. They
you
wouldn't.
have examples of things that you have done differently, but you have chosen to focus on those examples that didn't work that way. I could name another half a dozen if you want me to.
I'd
You have
appreciate
all
that.
kinds of examples of doing it the other way, but you're focused on the ones that didn't work.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm sorry, I just got it.
Oh, see, I need those other 6 examples because
Sure, I can give you some more examples.
I vaguely have the gist, but
Yeah, so see what's happening here is you're deciding that you can't make changes for the better until you're in deep pain because you think that that's been your experience up to now.
right, yeah.
But what I'm showing you is that you have different experience. You have that experience. You also have different experience. So I'll bet there's a time when you had a special partner.
Mm-hmm.
And that caused a pleasurable change in behavior.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another way that you can do it is by the pleasure of what you will get. So you have these experiences. If you learned to ride a bike, you did that for what you would be able to do with it, not for any particular pain, except maybe the social pain of exclusion. So, so you learn to ride a bike to get what you wanted. So there are all kinds of things like this. You know, the degree that you do self-care, you know, get a haircut, brush your teeth, shine your shoes, wash your clothes, you learned to do that for what it would do for you. So that whatever domestic habits you have, you learn to do those for the good of them.
Yeah, at some point.
So all of those domestic habits are things that weren't about pain. They were about what they would do for you. So you have many examples of changing for what it would do for you rather than waiting for the pain. I don't deny that you have examples of doing things because of the pain. But you also have the other examples. So you have changed many times for the better, for the good of that change.
Yeah, I like that. I think I think I get your point. Yeah.
And you can do that in any specific habit you want.
And does that mean even if you want to, any type of habit? So let's say you are going to acquire a new habit, so you find a way to acquire it that it doesn't have to be shocking or painful, but in an easy sense, or at least
it doesn't have to be hard.
It has to be in a way that you recognize it in a pleasant form, a pleasant arena, a real sort of, this is the way I'm going to begin my day, and this is a routine, and this is going to help me in this way, and it feels good. I'm doing this way. I it cleans my body out, and I'm happy by the end. I feel a real difference a couple hours later.
Tom, is there some way that you can give yourself a small success from day one? Like, I don't know what your habit is in the morning, and this is only one suggestion.
Mm-hmm.
There are many ways. But if you get up and you go to the bathroom and you light a smoke, can you wait 15 minutes to light that first smoke and say, yes, I did it? And then the next, do that for 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 days, and then go for half an hour.
And
then
I have success this way, but I allow myself 2 cigarettes in the morning, cigarette after dinner that I don't necessarily need. I decide not to have a cigarette after dinner. I decide not to have a cigarette at bedtime, but in the morning, I get my 2 cigarettes. And that, I accommodate my habit to that extent, but
so
only
it's
2 cigarettes a day.
So you're doing that well. So all you want to do is you want to just advance releasing the need for that from there. And if you put into your mantra, I am releasing the need for smoke.
I am free from cigarettes. Yeah,
I wouldn't say that, because that will set up a pattern of disbelief with your subconscious.
And like when I say to myself, I need a cigarette, like I kept the rolled cigarette in my pocket, and I would pull it out, look at it, and say to myself, I have a cigarette, and then I put it back in my pocket.
Nice work. That's excellent.
I have a cigarette, so it's
exactly. That's excellent work.
Yeah.
There's a famous actor who would just always carry an unlit cigarette and like put it in his mouth and everything, but he never lit it, and he hadn't smoked in 20 years. It was that cigarette that was keeping it, that unlit cigarette that was keeping him from smoking.
I'm going to have to leave in about 5 minutes for my next appointment, but before we do, I would love to just give you the last part of this model of ending on fighting and arguing in your relationships.
Oh, good.
So the first part is changing our language so that we don't create and we deflect without backing down. The second part is about setting and getting a long-term goal by using the ing verbs and making sure we have the big Y to back us up. And then the third part is about ego. The ego gets in the way of so much positive change. And what we can do with that is we can retire our ego. This is one of the skills that I have. And doing that for myself has really taken a lot of the counterproductivity out of my way of being. So by retiring our ego, we stop doing things just to be right, and we start doing things that are true.
Mm.
And this is a beautiful way of being, working for truth. So when they say the truth will set you free, I'm here to tell you that that is entirely the case.
Because it's a truth for you, because you have decided that you're reaching for the higher truth each day and each moment.
Yes. And so when we're doing that and we're not going, I have to be right and they have to be wrong, which is ego-driven, then we are in a place of freedom.
That's huge.
It is. It absolutely is. So retiring the ego is hugely, hugely beneficial. And so there's another part that goes along with that that's also little understood and most people would consider impossible, is once we retire our ego and those around us don't, then a lot can start to happen from the outside in. So, because they still want to be right, and now that you don't need to be right and you're not overpowering them, then they feel that you're a target for their rightness. So what we all have, although we don't realize it, is a boundary layer. It's a metaphorical boundary that we have around us. And we know that it's operating because people get inside our space. That's they're getting into your boundary. That is normally constructed somewhat haphazardly just by the way of being and who we've been around. But we can actually construct that deliberately. And we can make it work in such a better way to do both protection and connection.
Protection and connection.
So those are the two functions, the two
so you're protecting yourself.
Critical functions. Yeah, you're protecting yourself against incoming negativity, and you're connecting warmly with everybody and everything around you.
Well, that I understand as far as relationships go. That definitely works for relationships. When you define your boundaries, everybody knows your boundaries.
Exactly.
That promotes harmony.
Yes.
Where your boundaries are, wherever they are.
Yeah. So, but what people don't understand is that the boundary is metaphorical, and it can be adjusted and made more effective than the haphazard we all have.
Yeah, I'm always thinking you need to set a boundary up, and it's got to be that boundary is going to be the boundary for the rest of your life.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, and that's not true. The boundary could actually change daily.
Yes, it could. Although usually, you just adjust it one time so that it fits all circumstances, and it automatically shifts for what it wants to do in any given circumstance. But you can shift it, Dave. You can shift everything. It's a lot of work to do that, though, and it's quite time-consuming. So figuring out what we really want, what's true for us, and then setting it up as a habit makes it a whole lot easier to manage our days.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I'm going to have to go here.
All righty.
To my next meeting, but it's been a pleasure talking to you again, Tom. I wish
thank you.
Likewise.
You want?
Yeah,
and let's laugh our way out.
I appreciate you, Tom, jumping on. Thank you, Stephen L. Whiteley.
It's been a pleasure. Come visit us tomorrow, where we're going to be talking about happiness and the great life experiment.
Yeah, keep it going. This is great.
Thank you, Tom. See you, Tommy.
Thanks so much for your
help. Bye,
help.
everybody. I'm Stephen Whiteley. Take care. Tom. Stay well.
Thank you. Appreciate you, Tom.
Okay, see you tomorrow then.
Bye-bye.
Peace.
Hello. Welcome, everybody. What a pleasure it is to see you here. It's a beautiful day in October. So we are going to have a great discussion today. As soon as we get everybody on air. Hello there, Robert.
Why, my gosh. Do we have any conflict going on today? Or is it just pure happiness?
Just pure happiness living in me and around me. It's another beautiful day.
Another beautiful day. Thank you for those kind words, my friend.
Yes. It all starts on the inside, and then it migrates and flourishes on the outside.
Gosh, that is a amazing concept when we finally get that.
Yeah, and here we are. I can tell a little bird again. Now they've rejigged things, so we can do this.
Oh, you can actually do the tell a little bird.
Yeah.
Well, that's exciting because now all they got to do is touch the link and get here.
There we go. There we're off and running.
Yeah. Gosh, so, we can have a whole lot of things go on in our lives, but the one called conflict is probably a big one most Americans have.
Oh, yeah. Well, most people in most places have, I think, right from the, fighting the left and the right inside ourselves to fighting in families, to fighting at work, to laying judgment down on other people on the highway or in the shopping mall or on TV or on the radio or whatever. There is so much conflict going on out there. And answer me this. What good does it do anybody?
Oh, man, I want to just go to you're right. How come you never became a monk?
Oh, yeah. Probably because if I had become a monk, I wouldn't have understood all this stuff. I had to go through all that conflict and all that trouble to motivate me to find the deeper understanding behind it. If I hadn't lived through all that conflict, I wouldn't really understand the value of harmony. So that is the beauty in pain if you treat it as a learning experience. It's amazing what you can get out of treating your difficulties as your best learning tool.
Oh, God. That's amazing that you say that. So when we can go in and have that conversation deep inside ourselves,
yes,
we can justify or lose the contrast, the conflict. What is
resolve is the word I like to use.
So you resolve the conflict within yourself first, and then the outside of you becomes the pleasant, happy-go-lucky, full of life, full of happiness kind of person.
Exactly.
But sometimes when we go to that conflict, we have to be in conflict. There's so much contrast. That's why we came to planet Earth, to experience all this differences and all the contrasts out there.
Exactly. We're here as a learning experience. Excuse me. Learning. So learning and loving and really living. Those are, and let's throw in laughing as well.
So when we finally learned it, the conflict is actually just the joke. That we're
exactly. Yeah.
So we
it's a big bad joke if we understand it that way, like our friend Paz says it.
Yeah.
I love his take on that. It's not trouble; it's a joke. They're playing a joke on us.
He is. I mean, we are.
We are. It is. We are. All are.
So we have to play the bigger game by allowing ourselves to forgive ourselves for the conflict that we are in the moment.
Yeah, exactly.
And if we can start
conflict as a learning lesson. So go, okay, we're in the conflict here. So what is the higher truth of this? Because for each of the persons or entities that are in conflict, whether it's, left and right or whether it's inside, outside, they have a truth, a personal truth that they're adhering to. So the question is, what is the higher truth that unites them both?
So if you have a conflict going on, and
yeah.
and that conflict within between two people, and that hurt, and so there's sometimes there's an emotional pain attached to it. Now that emotional what's that?
Almost always.
Almost always there's an emotional pain attached to it, so that it bubbles up, and you're in the middle of this high heated conversation, and it's just you're pouring out your version of it, that, and you realize all of a sudden, oh, that's me being that's me feeling that feelings inside of the conflict, really. And so once I recognize that within myself, I can immediately turn that off.
Yes, exactly. And over time, you can learn to never go there.
Never to go there at all.
Yeah, exactly.
But then that's the true happiness. But the lesson in that is it that you never sometimes, but if you're in a relationship and been in for one for a while, that turning it off, the other person doesn't have anything other than that's their issue. They have to go and resolve that inner conflict within themselves, no matter what. It's not your responsibility to go down that rabbit hole.
My job is me. Your job is you. Your job is not me.
Yeah,
okay,
but
so think this through. Have you ever seen somebody change for the better as a result of conflict?
Never.
No.
It doesn't happen.
Spiral, right? As long as
it's a spiral, and you try to lift them out of that damn that soup hole, and you can't do it.
Yeah, it's a pit.
It's a pit, and it takes time, and it takes so much time, and it takes so much.
And so much energy.
So much energy.
So much money, and so much relationship value.
It just goes. Everything goes out the window.
Yes.
Doesn't matter who you are, what you are. Doesn't matter the person you are. It's that's you're labeled. You're labeled an asshole because you're.
Yeah, exactly. Or a know-it-all, or
I know it all, or whatever the case may be.
Big talk, no action guy.
Yeah.
Whatever.
What the heck?
If that's the way you want to think about me.
Yeah, exactly.
You think about me is none of my business.
That is so true. I mean, that's so simple, though. But
I know.
But we get caught up in the fact that we have to
think whatever you want about me. That's okay.
It's just one way to try to save that person from that soup hole. But is there other ways that people attempt to save the other person in the middle of a conflict?
Well, people do that all the time, but if you want to get to the truth of the matter, then the way to not get into the conflict is to flip the tables.
How do you flip the tables?
Yeah. So when not to retaliate, which is the norm,
right,
but to flip the table from the negative to the positive. When somebody criticizes us, we can say, thank you. It is so disarming.
But if you think about it, in that conflict that you're having right there, and that person coming forward to you, and there's conflict going on, and flip the table. Flip it. Oh, you flip the table. Just flip it from that negative.
From the fight,
blame, the
to
fight,
gratitude.
Yeah, to gratitude and appreciation, love,
Yeah.
thankfulness.
Thank you for pointing that out.
Yeah.
And if you have the presence of mind, you can even say, "Tell me more." Because sometimes when people are generating conflict, it's not about what you're doing. It's about some judgment they're holding against you, some negative judgment. And they're trying to one up. So they're just picking on little things just to chip you down.
Mm-hmm.
So when you say that, tell me more, they go, never mind. Never mind.
I take it you have experience with this.
Yeah.
Thank you for the advice.
Yeah, well, and that's another, when we do that and they give us the information, usually what I close with is, thanks, I'll seriously consider changing that. And then, see, I have kept all of my own power. Wow. I have given none of my power to them. I have given myself freedom of choice, so I don't have to think of something clever to come up with, some retort. And I'm sitting there with total peace of mind, just absorbing what they're saying. How interesting.
It is. It is. It becomes very interesting, actually, because it's an observation versus going down
ego-based defense.
Yeah, because now you're just sitting there observing, and it's a conflict, but the part, it doesn't get resolved any faster.
Yeah, they want to make it a conflict. Why do they want to make it a conflict? Because they're in conflict inside. So when they're in conflict inside, then they want to bring that conflict outside, because what can come out of us is only what's inside of us.
Oh my God.
It's like the orange. You can't squeeze an orange and get apple juice. Not inside it.
Right.
You can't squeeze a person and get something out of them that's not in there.
Boy, that simple concept is just something else. That's just as simple as it gets. If you just remember life, no matter how well we get with all this other stuff, keep it simple.
Exactly.
Fill yourself up with the right juice.
Yeah. Fill yourself up with the juice you want.
Or the juice you want.
Yeah.
So if it's apple juice, better drink more apple juice. That's going to make either happy apple juice would be preferable.
Yeah. So to my mind, there are really 3 steps to ending conflict in your life. And they are, first of all, adjusting our language, like I just talked about, so that you don't have to fight with other people. You're not intent or accidentally creating fights, and you're not being put down by them when they come at you. Because I didn't have to back down, right? I just accepted what they said. But I kept full choice on what to do with it.
So the interesting thing is, as long as you accepted it, but without attaching emotional energy to it, you ended up, that's the part that the emotional part is the freeing part. Yes, I hear you. I accept what you're saying. But when you can attach an emotion to it, then that becomes you owned it.
Oh, yeah. When you get defensive.
Wow.
And you get offensive.
Mm-hmm. Very cool.
Yeah. So this is the first part, right? Is modifying our language. And the other part of language, like we were talking yesterday about change your language, change your life, right?
Yeah.
And so this is a huge part of change your language, change your life is in how to deal with conflict. Because the thing that creates the most conflict is the word you followed by something that's negative about them.
And when you start doing that,
yeah, or it doesn't even have to be negative. If it's you trying to tell them what they're thinking or feeling, you'll almost always get it wrong, and that will result in, at the very minimum, a correction.
I've done that before.
Oh, yeah. Me too.
Hasn't gotten me very far.
No. So, when you think you know where someone's coming from,
Mm-hmm.
ask them where they're coming from.
And then I would know.
It's a lot more useful.
Well, can you use the expression, though, how it feels to me?
Yeah, that's a good expression. Yeah,
This is how it feels to me.
Yeah, it seems to me that this is the kind of thing that's going on here.
Yeah, and it feels this way to me.
Yes, and nobody will ever argue with us talking about what we think and what we feel if we take full ownership for it. Mm-hmm. Because it's me. I'm the authority on me.
Right. So make sure you're speaking.
Always come from ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah. That is true. Oh my gosh, I have not seen this guy in a long time.
Oh, it's Tom.
Yeah.
Good to see you.
Oh my gosh, man. Good.
Yeah. It's been a while. Welcome back.
Yeah, good week or two. Yeah, good to see you.
Super. What is happening with you and conflict?
Not much conflict really. Maybe with the real estate agent. Yeah.
Yeah.
No serious conflict. I keep that to a minimum.
Excellent. Maybe you'll get some tips here to make it even less. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty easy to overcome conflicts when you got other options, right? Yeah, I've got other options. We don't have to get into a tizzy with our agent. We can just get a new one, probably. Gotta look into the terms of our contract, but
good choice.
We're always free to do it on our own, buy a house on our own, just get our own inspector. Stuff.
So, if somebody comes to us with some kind of criticism that's going to lead to conflict, all we have to do is say, thanks.
Frank Herbert. What was it? Like there's that quote. Yeah, that quote he has. Conflict starts in the mind.
Oh, yes.
All conflict, all wars, they start on the conceptual level. People are arguing about things before they're actually fighting over them.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a fact. That's why I think it's good to keep conflict to a minimum on a social level. On the intellectual level, try and find reconciliations. And
the other thing is to get really curious about why they think different than we do. So is to really explore what their thinking is, what's behind that, what's above that, what's below that, what's around that, and get really curious about it. And they feel so acknowledged that even if you state something afterward that's different, they'll probably agree with you.
Hey, and you'll have a chance to agree with them by that point. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
You'll find some middle ground and in a lot of
higher ground.
Is it higher ground or middle ground?
I think middle ground is better than higher ground. Yes.
Really? I think that if you can find a truth on each side that leads to a higher truth that's common, I think that's the most useful part.
Me too. I would call it middle ground because higher ground is an advantage over somebody, having an advantage over the other side, right?
Oh, I see how it
middle ground is meeting, both sides of the equation.
Yeah. Okay. So I see where you're coming from. That makes sense to me. My aim is always to help me and everybody else find the highest truth that we can. So that's why I talk about it that way. But I can see how that might
appreciate
be mistaken as being somewhat arrogant or somewhat.
At the same time, it does give you an advantage over circumstances and over the conflict altogether, and it does give you higher ground in relation to your life circumstances altogether. Yeah, it does give you higher ground. And the real enemy isn't another human being. It's the conflict that would. And that situation is that can take the low ground.
Yeah.
As
Yeah.
the
Good
analogy
call.
goes, you can aim better with your arrows from above. And they can't even get their arrows up there. The higher ground is.
Let's just not shoot arrows.
Yeah, to have the fire in the first place. What's better than that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what's been going?
So I think that's the really most important thing is when things come at us as criticism or conflict, then is to just welcome it. Just say, thank you. Tell me more. What's so bad about me? Help me understand.
I'm with you there. Yeah, we got a lot of core philosophy in common. Yeah, we understand certain things.
Good. So then, what that allows me to do is to go off on my own and decide whether I want to do anything about it. And what it does, if it's somebody who's just trying to dominate me, is it exposes them.
Mm-hmm.
Because they don't have any higher.
So you're bringing the exposure out with the
tell me more.
Tell me more. With just the words, tell me more.
Yeah.
So what other? Tell me more. What is some other questions that you could actually ask in that particular time frame when that conflict is going on between the?
Okay, so there are some other things you can do. Is you can expand in detail on something. Like if somebody just like this happened to me one time. There was where I was working. There were some people there that didn't like the fact that I was a happy person.
Mm-hmm. Some people don't.
They were embedded in conflict, right?
Yeah.
And so they wanted conflict. And so one of them criticized what I was wearing. So then what you can do in a case like that is go, is it the cut or the color or something else that you don't like?
Expand upon that, please.
You can ask for more detail about it in some way.
It reminds me of the Saturday Night Live commercial that they made for depressants for those people who are just too damn happy.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. That's good.
You like the coworker who's too happy. Everybody hates him because they're learning to live with their shit and you're not.
Oh, Tom, that's hilarious.
Yeah. So that's one way to go about it. And like we talked about just before Tom came on, what we want to do to avoid creating conflict is to never use the word you with anything judgmental, negatively judgmental after.
Oh, and using the word but can hurt a lot too, because then you're separating yourself right there.
Yeah, a lot of people are sensitive to the word but, and there's a few things I've found that can take its place.
But?
Yeah.
And
one of the uses of it can be replaced by at the same time. So, this is going on, but this is too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So this is going on, and at the same time, this is also going
Yeah,
on.
if you can twist it just to be less confrontational, just be, if there's any way you can spin your words just so they're less confrontational, you'll have a lot more success getting along with people.
Yeah.
It's not that hard.
And but can all often be replaced by and.
So, and there is two sides to this. This is one version of it, and this is another version of it.
And this is another.
Oh, and yeah, that reminds me, bringing it up to the general level instead of keeping it on the personal level and naming names and groups and societies and everything. Bring it up to a more general level, more because
Go from who and why to what.
Keep it from being personal.
Instead of who it happened, why it happened.
Yeah,
who did it,
why, and what, and it could be anyone. It wasn't you, it wasn't me, it wasn't anybody, it wasn't your friend.
It doesn't matter who it was. What matters is that we understand it and we understand how to resolve
the process itself rather than the individuals that make a good example for the process, right? The process that you're talking about, talk about the process instead. You're not gonna trigger people. You're not gonna be pointing the finger at anybody, right? So it helps a lot to bring things up to a general level, to a universally applicable, representation. Though, like, your personal circumstances might be a real good example of that. That's when to bring it up to a general level instead of bringing names and everything into it.
So using the word and instead of but, and then and generating the conversation, there is two sides to this, and this is the versions instead of using but. But always has a cancellation aspect to it. It cancels out one or the other person.
Yes.
Yeah, or the nice thing that you just said. You might just be canceling that out,
Right. So if you go down the road and say, yeah, you're really beautiful, but I don't like your dress.
You could do your eyebrows a little better. Yeah, but yeah, your eyebrow, you need a new eyebrow plucker.
So you could say, you're really beautiful. And at the same time, I think that a dress that's more this way.
Yes. So you're acknowledging the dress being beautiful.
It helps you too, because then you think, I think this dress would look even better, instead of saying, this dress is wrong and this is, well, this one's better, and even though, wait, I screwed up my expression there. It kind of leads you to think in a more harmonious way if you're using and instead of but. Because you could just put everything in a positive light. It's a little bit easier to get into where, like, if you're gonna have constructive criticism about somebody, right, you're gonna also say three good things about them at the same time, about what they're doing, about their state. You're gonna have three good things to say before you have license to have just some constructive criticism, just to get a good idea across, what you think is a good idea across to somebody. You still have to have three other good things to say along with it. Otherwise, you don't say it in the first place. You have to. It's important. It's very important.
One of the most effective ways to give feedback in a case like that, where you're trying to help somebody, maybe it's your job to help them, maybe you're the coach or the boss or the parent or whatever. But we have this way of talking that's been called the shit sandwich.
I call it the shit scoop.
You say something and then nice, and then you say the nasty thing, and then you say something nice again. But there is another way to talk about it. You can talk about the nice things. And then you can say to them, what do you see as the most important area for your next improvement?
Oh, a question. Yes.
They will so know what they need to do, probably even better than you do. And they will be harder on themselves than you will be. So when you don't set up that defensive cycle.
I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, because that's where I'm coming to is like, I'm like never going to point something out. I'm going to ask, this or this. And one of them is what's on my mind. You think this is better than this and why, instead of targeting. And yeah, you have to go. Oh, the analogy is perfect. To cut a piece of bamboo tree with a katana, with that, Asian weapon.
I know.
If you go at it at a 90-degree angle, like the bamboo tree is like this and your sword goes like this, your sword's going to break, right?
Interesting.
If you go at it diagonally, the tree's going to be sliced real clean and your sword's going to be intact. And this is what my substance abuse counselor presented to me as an analogy. Sometimes you don't present something right against the grain. You don't go at it in a direct way like you would intuitively think. You find the right angle, and if it's something like 63 degrees, it's very precise. To cut bamboo in particular, if you cut it right down the top, all of the grain is going upwise, so you're going to split it in half like that. But that's not going to work if you're trying to cause it to topple over, right?
Yeah, it's usually most helpful to let other people talk about themselves and you to talk about you. Anytime we start talking about somebody else, then we are on thin ice. I don't know if you use that phrase in California.
You're out of your realm. You're out. Oh, there's no way they would use that term in California.
No, we don't. We walk on water.
Yeah. I'm so happy for you. Hey, it's Happy Aerosol.
Aerosol, welcome.
Oh, Happy Aerosol.
Jump on. Happy Aerosol. That's a really good name.
But I think it would be really good to role play an argument.
I like it. Woo-hoo. I would when I'm on the phone. Okay, not a problem.
Okay, yeah. You can be on a phone if you have a good connection and battery life too.
And now we have the
devil fruit. All right, tenacious Swede.
Devil fruit, deliciously sweet. That's a good one.
Yeah. We'll give him some props just for being red.
Yeah, he is very red.
Hey guys, I just wanted to say your show is fantastic.
Oh, thank you very much.
Is this Devil? Is this your name?
Yeah, well, it's a reference.
It's a reference.
It's a show. It's a show. It's silly. I'm just crazy.
Are you talking about?
I'm a silly guy. I also like to be silly.
That is great. Yeah. No, I didn't want to. I just wanted to say I love what you guys are doing.
Yeah, you know what? I appreciate you. Now, what do you think about happiness and conflict? How do you handle conflict in your show?
Conflict on Blab?
Yeah, well, just conflict in your life.
Conflict anywhere. Like when you think of conflict, how do you handle it?
Sometimes I'm sitting back reading some Dostoevsky next to the fireside with a nice Cabernet, and then I full speed drop kick them into a fucking volcano.
He goes into a volcano.
Did you hear what I heard? He dropped it right into a volcano.
It's really silly.
He did. No wonder it was
Okay.
all red.
Let's move on a step. Yoo-hoo! I think you guys are getting through.
How about that?
Thank you.
Baby steps.
So, I think
I think so
You know,
too.
if-
Actually, we got trolled.
That was kind of a polite way to troll.
Yes.
so. Let's move from step 1 to step 2. So, step 1 is changing our language around so we don't create and we deflect conflict when it comes to us.
Mm-hmm.
Step 2 in relationships is, hey, if I can't tell people what to do, how do I influence them?
Mhm.
The way we influence people is by what we do, not what we say.
Oh boy.
So people always are paying attention to what we're doing and the results we're getting rather than what we're talking about,
Mm,
lecturing on, and what we're criticizing.
that's big.
So what do we want to do that's going to make all the difference? Well, we want to build better and better habits because we are creatures of habit, and habit is what drives results. So let's build good habits. How do we build good habits?
So it's more important to pick up a habit in a relationship rather than have a conflict.
It means
And
a lot.
Yeah. So that's why I say when I go, thank you for that, I'll go away and I'll seriously consider making that change. Then I'll decide if that's a habit that I want to take on.
Or even can. Because
Well-
habits are so hard to change and they help so much.
But if you think about it, how many habits would you change in order to be the person that you really dream of being? How many habits would it take?
Not
Not that many, eh?
Yeah.
Maybe a half dozen.
yeah.
For most of us, less. You know, it's healthy eating, it's fitness, it's financial management, it's achievement.
Those are very crucial. I mean, if you think about it, what you just said, you made
Oh,
it
yeah.
very, very simple for someone to actually, you know, if whatever our bad habits are, create new habits. And slowly get rid of the old ones.
So if those are all the habits, most of us, I can only think of about 6 habits that we really need.
Wow.
So if let's say that it takes us 60 days to build a new habit.
Mm-hmm.
So within a year, that's our ideal self.
Yep. Within a year, we would.
Oh,
No.
I missed that. I missed that in specific. The whole quote. Whole quote again, please.
The quote is that if we changed roughly about 6 habits, that we
would be our ideal self.
we would want. Yes. we would
Oh,
want-
okay. Yeah, I could fit all the changes that I would make.
So
with
if
it.
we take then 60 days to change a habit.
10 days for each habit, huh?
No, 60 days for one habit.
60 days for each habit.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
Then in 1 year, we have the ideal self.
We have it says, is that the Game of Thrones reference? That's actually to you.
I might as well, instead of replying with text in the side, seeing as it's out. Yeah, this is the moon represents.
Oh,
Oh, now we have Tenacious Sweet again. All right.
Yeah. Tenacious Sweet
yeah,
is giving us props like crazy.
the three aspects of femininity are like maiden, then mother, and then crone, right? And this is applicable in nature. It's represented by the waxing moon, the waning moon, and the yeah. It's a triple goddess. The three aspects of femininity, and the moon is the main representative of femininity. And that was a strongly held belief by the Game of Thrones, Vikings, that those times. Yeah, it was much more prominent in those times.
Oh yes. Okay, but that's a bit off track. So let's get back on track.
Way off track. Yeah. That's why I was going to answer in the text. Right? That's why it belonged in the text.
So then let's think about this. If it's true that we could be our ideal self within a year, then how do we change and sustain a new habit that we want?
How do you continue to be your ideal self?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
How do you keep each habit as you go on to build the new ones? How do we do that?
Right. What is this magic? Because we all basically stick with our habits and die with them. You know, we die with our habits, don't we?
Yes, we do.
For the most part.
So let's think of some new habits. So let's take, let me see, which one would you like to start with? Eating well, fitness, financial management?
I want to start with getting rid of the vices in the first place, like even the dietary vices.
Health and wellness, we're going to call that. Okay, so here we go. So if you want to build health and wellness, what is important about that for you?
Do you want to do it that one time?
Well, I just have like very short answer is quality of life and longevity. You know, those are the two things.
Yeah.
And
so is that quality of life and that longevity, what will that do for you? Why is that important to you?
Okay. I guess more succinctly, it's quantity of life, and then in the second aspect is quantity of life. How much life I have.
Oh yeah, quantity, quality.
Right, because the quality of life
aspect, to look at.
Life gets better as soon as I lose a vice, or as soon as I develop a habit. Life gets better. You know, life is more worth living. There's quality to it. Things are more comfortable. Like I quit smoking, I get my sense of smell back. My blood is, you know, easier to circulate. So I feel I have less aches and pains just all of a sudden right after quitting smoking. There are a lot of, there's immediate feedback that doesn't seem to register with everybody. You know, that's not enough to keep us from quitting smoking. All us smokers.
Yeah, so what we need is a big why. We need our why to sustain us through the long.
That's good.
Okay, so if
would a juicy relationship fall under the category of health, or would it be physically fit would be under the category of
physically
health?
Comfortable.
Eating?
Just let.
So which one of those vices would you like to give up first?
You know, I'm never really antsy to give up a vice. You know, I'm not trying to let go of it, get rid of it. You know, I like my vices. But you know, smoking is the most stupid one. You know, that if I could if I could do without it, I would. I know the benefits are better. I rashly have determined that smoking is just stupid. I mean, it's not helping me any, and it helps me a lot to stop. Yeah.
Okay, so if I could help you to release your need for smoking now, would that be good?
Yes.
Are you ready? Like from 1 to 10, what is your readiness to give up that need now?
Let's see. It's between 2 and 3 is my readiness level to give up smoking out of on a 1 to 10 scale. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So what would it take to get that up to, say, the next level, 3 to 4?
All right. Vaping has helped me in the past. All right. Electronic cigarettes. That would jump me up to 5 or 6, maybe 6.5.
So if you could smoke electronic cigarettes, then that would get you up to 5 or 6.
If I could integrate electronic cigarettes in place of the analog cigarettes, yes.
Okay. So do you have an electronic
I
cigarette?
do indeed.
So you could do that.
Yeah, I'm ready. Like, yeah, I've got this. Like, I got my e-cig sub-ohm, except that.
Oh, right. Oh, so you're totally ready.
Yeah, I'm all ready, and I've got 60
Yeah.
milligrams.
So if you had those, and then you would be up to a level 6, then what would take it up to a level 7 or 8?
Bringing the nicotine level down. I mean, it's pretty low as it is, but
Is it the nicotine that is the satisfaction with inside of you? The smoke fills in the lungs. Is that the feeling? Is there a feeling that you're getting when you inhale?
yeah, and I've got my juice just right to be as smooth as a cigarette, because they try to make it as harsh as possible, because you want the feeling of having a cigarette, right? But they tried too hard in that aspect. So, like mixing my own juice and everything, I brought it down to where it's about as smooth as a cigarette. It's as close as possible to actually smoking a cigarette, which isn't better. It doesn't feel better. It's just a little bit, it's smoother than the harsh vape. But I've got a not so harsh vape going. It's all ready to go. Novelty was initially there. Novelty helped a lot because I basically quit for a month almost by accident, just by having 2 cigarettes in the morning when I, really need a cigarette, and then I would vape the rest of the day. Now I've got my vape so that it's about equivalent to a cigarette, but I don't use it.
You haven't been using it.
Right, I haven't been using it.
Okay, so let me ask you a couple of questions here, Tom. What will happen if you do give up smoking?
Well, I'll feel better, and I'll get my sense of smell back, so life will be a lot richer. It'll be good. It's nothing but better.
Will you save money?
Actually, me in particular, I won't save much money. Money's, it's 6 in one, half a dozen in the other with tobacco and vapes for me, because I'm not buying pre-rolled cigarettes. I roll my own cigarettes.
Oh yeah.
So I'm going really cheap. Yeah, finances.
So it's about wellness and quality of life.
Yeah.
Okay. So what will happen if you don't quit?
Right. Obviously, same as I'm used to in the short term, and
will it get worse?
Pardon?
Will it stay the same or will it get worse?
Like I might live till 95, like the rest of my family, except smoking all the time. I'm probably, it might be 65 or 70. I might lose 20 years out of my life in exchange for being able to smoke cigarettes.
Oh, so this habit runs in your family.
Yeah, but we lived till 95, but we quit smoking at one point. Like my grandparents quit smoking, they stopped smoking, they lived longer. Well, the ones who didn't live to about 60, 65, the ones who had a lot of secondhand smoke still. Yeah, 95. 95 is our life expectancy.
Okay.
Without
So would you feel better if you honored your forebears and kept that habit, or if you released that habit to honor your children and their children?
Obviously, yeah, yeah, okay, I'm probably not going to have children, but the spirit of this is, yes, the children are way more important than me.
Yes.
I mean, 10 times at least, 10 times more important than my life. I would give my life in a heartbeat.
Yes. Okay. Okay. And then what won't happen if you do release the need?
It's not the end of the world. My life isn't changing that dramatically if I release the need for cigarettes. It's what can I say? I mean, if I switch
gotta
to a
say anything you
vape
want.
and vape for the
It's-
rest of my life, I'm still doing everybody a favor, myself included.
Cool.
Yeah.
What will happen if you don't give up smoking?
Well, I'll be stinky. I'll have raunchy teeth. My lips will be peeling. I'll have nicotine stains on my fingers. I'll just continue to be kind of raunchy and nasty.
Oh.
That's besides the fact that,
So tell me, from 1 to 10, what's
that's-
your motivation to move forward on this now?
my rationale is completely right. My mind is right. Rationale, all sound thinking, common sense says I might as well just quit smoking and move over to the vape and maybe taper off of nicotine altogether. Perfectly realistic. It can happen. So there's something missing from the puzzle. There's a piece missing from the puzzle because I'm all on board, emotionally, rationally. I don't really, and the only people who care whether or not, well, no, I'm not, no, that's not true. But no, I'm on board mentally. I have it. It makes a lot more sense not to smoke, but I still do. Just and it's not a rational thing. It's a chemical that's screwing with me, and I feel kind of victimized by it, and especially by the brainwashing and all the all those old movies where the last thing, what's your last wish when you're getting in it. On your way to being executed in a firing line. What do you want? I want a cigarette. Just give me another.
Yeah.
It's stuff like that. It's hard to deal with.
So I have another question. Can you light up one of your e-cigarettes now?
Yeah.
Okay. While you do that, then we're going to wrap up this section, number 2, and move on to number 3. Okay. So if then the second part is about setting new habits. One of the really fundamental problems in setting and sustaining a habit is using the wrong words. because it's like we're giving an order to our subconscious mind, and our subconscious mind is looking for the most effective way of implementing that.
That's what I'm
So
looking
if I say I
for.
want to quit smoking, then I go to sleep at night, then I quit smoking until I wake up, and then I start again.
Mhm.
Yeah, I quit smoking.
If I say I want to lose weight, I do the same thing. Why is that? Because those verbs are
Mhm.
short-term, immediate action verbs. So what we want to do is we want to switch our verbs over to long-term success verbs. And these are the verbs that end with the letters ing. So I'm building, I'm growing, I'm improving, I'm developing. Any of these kind of words, they never stop. So then if we use these kind of words, like in my own case, I had always wanted to be fit, and I had never been able to sustain that for more than a year. And I know exactly why now, is because I had defined fit as being able to do a certain amount of exercise. And when I did that, then I achieved it. Okay, don't need that anymore. So on this last time that I've now been sustaining for over 8 years, what I do is I am building strength, endurance, flexibility, and agility. And so I am building
Oh, so you change.
strength, endurance, flexibility,
Yeah.
and agility. So then there's no end to that. It just keeps going. So
But I remember, you know, it was 25
Yes,
years
me
ago.
too.
I smoked cigarettes, and when I went to quit, I started running, and that I was trying to get that deep breath, or that,
Yeah, yeah.
because I could feel the smoke in my lungs. So that addiction. So when we wake up in the morning, you don't. You're right. For 12 hours, you didn't. So that was the best
Yeah,
time in
exactly.
the morning is not to grab one, and try to get something else accomplished in that time. So I took up running, and I ran
Cool.
10 miles in 6 months. You know, but well, that was just the way. That was my way of getting
releasing the
rid of
need for smoking.
cigarettes
Yeah, that would help
for smoking.
me.
And
Running instead of smoking.
well, yeah, because you're looking. Well, because I was completely flabby. I was not
I was
anything.
not a runner.
I just said, okay, I'm throwing the cigarettes away, and I'm gonna start, you know, preparing for the Crim here in Michigan, which is a 10-mile run, and it was not fun. It was not fun. It's fun today because I know what I went through. But when I was taking those deep breaths as I was running, it would fulfill me as that same kind of gratification that I got from
Yeah.
smoking.
Very good. I did it a different way.
Weird, but true.
I quit smoking so many times that I used to say, I'm not a quitter, I'm a starter.
Quitters never win.
Yeah. But when I finally did it
Yeah.
Sorry.
and let it go, was when I didn't focus on what I was doing, I focused on what I was being. And I decided that I am smoke-free. So when I'd get a craving, I'd say, I'm smoke-free. So if I would go into what I was doing, will I have that smoke or will I not? Then that argument would happen, and eventually you give in. But when I made it to the level of being, then there was no argument anymore. Because I am smoke-free.
I like that. With alcohol, it works for me based on the identity that I had when I was 20 or 21. I didn't drink on my 21st birthday, except I had a coffee beverage.
Oh yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
I wasn't drinking like I do these days. And when I do cut down, it's because I make an identity shift, and I am somebody who doesn't drink, who doesn't have any much interest in alcohol.